Hi, how are you doing? My name is Rohit and I'll be breaking down the 13th match of this year's IPL, which saw the Delhi Capitals taking on the Chennai Super Kings in Visakhapatnam, which is one of Delhi's home grounds for this part of the IPL season. And while it was a home game for Delhi, um, if you follow the IPL, then you will know that wherever Chennai goes, that Chennai crowd makes all the noise. It's always a sea of yellow, and this one was no different. So I would not have blamed you or anyone for that matter if you thought that this game happened back in Chennai. But no, this game happened in Vizag, and it doesn't matter where you go in India. Um, if CSK is playing, that stadium will be a sea of yellow. And unfortunately for that sea of yellow, the Delhi Capitals won this match today by 20 runs, handing CSK their first loss of this year's IPL. And honestly, in both Delhi's batting and when CSK was chasing, it all starts with the power play. The main difference being the Delhi Capitals basically doubled their power play score within the last within the last 2 overs of the power play, and CSK lost 2 wickets very early on in the power play, and that ultimately set the tone for both Delhi setting a total and how Chennai approached their chase. Because in a chase, especially one upwards of 190, as was the case today with Delhi posting 191, you want your batters to stay at the crease. You want them to establish a partnership and kind of get a feel for what's going on with the pitch. The Chennai Super Kings batters didn't have an opportunity to do that. And ultimately, you get into a mini rebuild early on in the chase, which already puts you behind a relatively high run rate in a ground that tends to see the average winning score being upwards of 175, which is this is well ahead of. So you're already behind the 8 ball, and everything just compounds from there. And overall, in terms of both innings, the main difference is Delhi's batters were able to stay at the crease, build partnerships, get themselves settled in, and then tee off. And you can see it in both innings where with the batters that faced more than 20 balls, had strike rates that were very good. And especially in Delhi's case, they had 3 batters facing more than 20 balls. All 3 scored upwards of 40 runs, and all 3 had strike rates upwards of 140. That is very good strike rate. That is a very good strike rate, and that also shows that this is a pitch that will be tricky at first. But once you get set, this is a very good batting surface, and that's what ultimately showed. Unfortunately for Chennai, they didn't have that. They only had 2 batters face more than 20 balls, and only one of them had a strike rate of higher than 140, with Ajinkya Rahane having a strike rate of 150, scoring 45 from 30. And that's ultimately just not enough in this sort of chase. You want more people to be able to stay at the crease. But when you're already facing that sort of pressure, and with the way Chennai started in their power play, Ruturaj Gaikwad goes out for 1 in the first over by a very good delivery from Khalil Ahmed. And there was some swing in this pitch, actually. That brings me to the next point. There was some swing in this pitch. The Chennai bowlers were not able to control that swing. They had a lot of errors in their line and length, which gave a lot of balls for the Delhi Capitals openers to hit and to hit for boundaries. Whereas the Delhi Capitals bowlers, they had much better control of their line and length, not giving the CSK batters any room to play with, and that's what got them those wickets. Ruturaj Gaikwad goes out cheaply, and his wicket has that swing on display as he gets an inside edge going for a drive. It's one thing if you get an inside edge playing a defense, because that means the ball is just doing a whole lot, but getting an inside edge on a drive, that shows good line and length, but also the fact that there is some swing. And considering the fact that the bowler that got Ruturaj Gaikwad out, Khalil Ahmed, who is also the player of the match, he's a left armer, so his natural bowling motion takes the ball away from the right-hander, making you want to push towards it. This ball hung in just a little bit longer than the previous ones. Ruturaj Gaikwad gets the inside edge. Rishabh Pant takes a clean catch. Gaikwad's back in the dugout. And Khalil Ahmed's ability to get that ball to swing on this pitch, both directions, both in and out, to both left-handers and right-handers, also reflecting the fact that Rachan Ravindra also struggled a lot. he only scored 2 from 12 balls, and he was feeling the run rate pressure creep up, and so he gets out trying to play a big shot, which kind of goes to show that even if you do face a few balls, if you're not really middling it, you get that sense of panic to creep in, and that's ultimately what did in CSK. That sort of inexperience from Rachanavindra and then Samir Rizvi as well at the back end, who gets out for a golden duck. Their inexperience on this sort of difficult pitch where you kind of have to calm down, let yourself get settled in, just get your eye in, just play at a few balls. That's what was needed, and unfortunately, they just couldn't middle the ball, and they were both out very, very cheaply. So already you're looking at 3 batters that I've named, all out for very cheap. So Rahane and Mitchell stitched together a partnership. That partnership gets broken. The wheels start to come off more. Even as more batters came in, none of them really got something going. Until the end, where the crowd got a vintage MS Dhoni special of him just hitting the ball to all parts of the ground. And here's the thing. If you're a Chennai fan, or if you're a fan of cricket in general, you just love to see that. Dhoni just comes in, first ball, pulls it away for 4. Couple of balls later, hits a 6-over cover. And that was just very, very entertaining to watch. And it had a lot of people asking, should MS Dhoni come up ahead of players like Samir Rizvi, ahead of Ravindra Jadeja? And the answer is no. There is no reason to tinker with a batting lineup that has been successful throughout this tournament so far. There's no reason to unnecessarily promote a batter because of 1 innings. And also, this was just kind of a time for just Dhoni to hit, because by the time Dhoni amassed a lot of his runs, the match was already kind of out of hand. He scored 20 in that final over, but CSK already needed 41, so that's mathematically impossible unless not only does every ball go for a 6, but you also have a no ball that also goes for a 6 with the free hit also going for a 6. So that is mathematically effectively impossible, barring the miracle to end all miracles. So you basically have free license to hit, and while it was very entertaining, the crowd loved it. Even if CSK lost, the crowd was going berserk just because they got to see Dhoni basically turn back the clock. You wouldn't think that this man is 42. The way he was hitting. 37 from 16 at a strike rate of 231 is absurd. But ultimately, it just wasn't enough because CSK couldn't get going. They had a very low-scoring power play. They had to keep quiet in the middle overs because they had to focus on rebuilding that innings. And when it came down to the business end of it, the death overs, there was ultimately just too many runs on the board. And in an attempt to up the run rate, batters kept getting out. And at that point, there's not too much else you can do. Credit to the Delhi Capitals bowlers. They bowled excellently in the death overs, not giving Jadeja, Dhoni, or any other CSK batters any sort of width or loose delivery to latch onto and put into the stands or go to the fence. And ultimately, that's what helped. That sort of line and length discipline from start to finish. The line and length discipline in the power play kept CSK quiet, got wickets. The line and length discipline in the death overs kept CSK quiet and just made the runs on the board too much. And that's how the game basically went. With that said, thank you for watching as usual, and please like, comment, subscribe. And with that, I'll see you for the next one. Thank you. Have a good one.